spirits, what exactly is the spirits? If you see a broad classification of beverages, okay, in your beverages can be classified into alcoholic and non-alcoholic. And when you concentrate only on alcoholic beverages, we again have alcoholic beverages further being classified into two types, that is fermented and distilled. So when we talk about fermented, we have wine, we have beer, okay, these all come under your fermented. And when we talk about distilled, under distilled you have all the spirits. Those are whiskey, gin, vodka, rum, brandy, tequila, and many more such spirits. They are being made by the distillation process. So we are going to look in today's chapter that how actually, what is the meaning of this distillation, or what is alcohol for that matter. Okay, so as we go ahead, we'll see what exactly alcohol is. Next slide. As you can see, alcohol is a colorless, volatile and flammable liquid obtained through fermentation of sugar. So we have actually learned this, or we have understood this, that how alcohol is formed. We had seen the reaction in when we are studying about wine. At that moment we had learned that how alcohol is formed. So alcohol is a colorless, volatile and flammable liquid obtained through fermentation of sugar. The name has been derived from the Arabic word alcohol, and what is this meaning of this alcohol word is basically your ethyl alcohol, which is C2H5OH. Okay, so how this alcohol is being obtained, okay, when it is a part of a certain liquid mixture, how you are extracting that alcohol from this mixture is what is the process of distillation. Now as you can see on the slide, there are all those glasses contain spirits, but as you can see that these spirits are of different colors. Okay, you have a darker color like a brown color, then you have white or maybe a pale golden color. Okay, so these are all spirits which are classified into two, that is white spirits and brown spirits. Next slide. So you can see the classification of spirits as white spirits and brown spirits. Now what is white spirits? White spirits are clear, generally devoid of color, because they have usually not been aged in color inducing wood barrels. Some of them are aged in barrels and then filtered, so they look clear. Like for example, if you have seen rum, okay, rum, it comes in both the categories, as in rum can be classified under brown spirits as well as clear spirits. This is why, because when you are making white spirits, generally they are not been aged in wooden barrels. Okay, even if they are being aged in wooden barrels, they are being filtered, so the color is being filtered, so that you get a clear spirit which is named as white spirit. So you must have seen white rum. Okay, so white rum is clear, and if you see the dark rum is brownish in color. So you have the classification as white spirits and brown spirits. So in comparison to white spirits, what is brown spirits? Brown spirits have absorbed the color. White spirits have absorbed the color as well as the flavor, aromas and texture from the wooden vessels in which they are being aged. Okay, so generally the brown spirits, they get their flavors, aroma or the texture of the spirit is obtained from the wooden barrels or the wooden vessels that are being used to age the spirits. Now in some of the spirits, even to get a proper color, the spirits are being added with caramel. You know what's caramel? Caramel is basically when you burn the sugar. Okay, that's called as caramelization. So when you burn the sugar, you get a color like a brownish color. If you keep on burning it, it will get burnt. So the caramel that you get, that is being added to get a uniform color of the spirit. Okay, so the brownish, golden brownish color to get. So sometimes some of the spirits are being added with a dosage of caramel just for the purpose of coloring. Okay, so under your brown spirits, you will have your whiskey, you'll have your rum, you will have your brandy. Okay, these all fall under your brown spirits. And when it comes to white spirits, or you can also call them as clear spirits, they are your vodka, gin, as I mentioned to you, rum, white rum, then you have tequila. These all fall under your clear or white spirits. So the classification is very simple, wherein spirits are being classified into two. One is white spirits and the other is brown spirits. Wine spirits, they generally are being classified as white spirits because they are not being aged in wooden barrels, and even if they are being aged in wooden barrels, then they are being filtered so that they look clear, and that's why they are being named as white spirits. Brown spirits are the spirits which are being aged in wooden barrels, wherein they get the taste and the aroma and the flavors from the wooden barrels, as well as sometimes to get a uniform color of the spirit, caramelization or a dosage of caramel is being added. Okay, so I've given you examples, and now you are quite clear about how the spirits have been classified into two, that is white spirits and brown spirits. Now as you go ahead, this was the brief introduction about the spirits. Now we'll go and understand that how we can achieve the spirits, or how can we get the spirits, or how can we obtain the spirits from a particular mixture. Okay, like now you can see on the slide, the slide says what is distillation. So distillation is a process in which alcohol is extracted in its purest form. Kindly note that alcohol has been extracted in its purest form from a fermented liquid. So as I mentioned to you in the last class, any particular fermented liquid, okay, will contain alcohol, and then when you have to extract that alcohol from this particular liquid, like for example there is a mixture of A and B, and the A and B, out of that you want to separate A. So that process in which you are extracting a particular part from that liquid content is called as distillation. So what happens in distillation? There is a fermented liquid. As I mentioned to you last time, that suppose whiskey is made from grains, and then there is a liquid mixture of which you have to extract the alcohol. So there are two types of distillation. The first one is your pot still distillation, and the second is the patent still distillation. So these are two types of distillation in which you can extract alcohol from a fermented liquid. So just for your understanding, I have put a small diagram at the side which says distillation. So basically in your chemistry lab or in your science lab, if you want to do distillation, so distillation is, just for your understanding, it's very pretty simple, that there is a liquid mixture which needs to be heated, and in that as I mentioned to you, that a fermented liquid will have alcohol, and the boiling point of alcohol is 78.4 degrees Celsius, and the boiling point of water is 100 degrees Celsius. So when the temperature reaches 78.4, the temperature is kept constant at that point, wherein it's not allowed to increase. And what happens at that stage? Because alcohol reaches its boiling point, alcohol gets converted into its gaseous state, wherein it forms into vapor. And then when it forms into vapor, it is being collected into a pipe, and then through that pipe, further on, that pipe is being cooled. And when you cool vapor, the vapor gets converted into liquid. So that is how you get your purest form of alcohol. So we'll see now what exactly is the pot still distillation and how this particular process works, in which you are going to get the purest form of your alcohol. So in the next slide, I have put up the image of a pot still distillation. Okay, now the pot on the left hand side, where you can see a yellowish color container. Okay, so traditionally what was being used is like a onion kettle. जैसे onion दिखता है ना, उस तरीके का kettle होता था. And the pot, as in that is called the pot, and that pot used to resemble this onion shaped like kettle. Okay, it was a huge kettle which looked like an onion, and the top of it would be very narrow. Okay, so ऊपर की तरफ narrow होता था और फिर नीचे की तरफ जरा बड़ा होता था. So that is how this pot used to look. Now this pot still distillation is based on the principle that alcohol will boil at 78.4 degrees Celsius and it will vaporize at that particular temperature before the water evaporates, because water will evaporate at 100 degrees Celsius. So as I mentioned to you, that the temperature that you need to hold the temperature at 78.4 so that alcohol can get converted into vapor. Now an alcoholic solution is filled in the kettle. Okay, so as you can see in this container where it has been written mash. Okay, so mash is basically a liquid, you can say a solution or a liquid content which has a lot of things mixed. Like for example, you might have fruits, water, okay, depending on what type of spirit you are trying to make. Okay, so that will be called as a mash. So that mash is being heated. So the alcoholic solution is filled in that container and it is heated. Okay, now this alcoholic the solution which is there, or the mash you can say, once it is heated at the temperature when it reaches 78.4, the alcohol gets converted into vapor and it is transferred. Obviously when it is formed into vapor, it will move upwards, okay, and it will pass through that narrow pipe. Okay, you can see the narrow pipe that is moving ahead, and then this narrow pipe further goes on, and then you can see it is passed through cold water so that the vapor gets converted into liquid again, and that whatever is collected, that is your alcohol. So now in this process, when you are heating and this vapor gets converted into liquid and whatever is being collected, it's called as the liquid alcohol. Now when you do the distillation, the pot still distillation for the first time for a particular liquid or for that mash, the liquid which is collected after it is passed through cold water, whatever liquid is being collected, that is your liquid alcohol, and that alcohol is being collected in three parts. What are these three parts called as? Head, heart and tail. So very simple to remember. The three parts, that the liquid alcohol that has been collected after this entire process of distillation, it has been collected into three parts. The first part is called as head, second is called as heart, and third is called as tail. Okay, these all three parts are being collected in separate containers. Now the head and the tail, as in the first container and the third container, these both containers, they contain methyl alcohol. Now methyl alcohol is an alcohol which is not suitable for consumption. Okay, so the head and the tail is again put for redistillation, and जो heart है, जो second container है, that which has been collected, that is been put for second pot still distillation. जब ये second pot distillation में heart को डाला जाता है, that liquid alcohol which is called as the heart is been put again for distillation, and फिर से वो प्रोसेस होता है, अल्कोहल वेपर में कन्वर्ट होता है, वेपर से वापस से लिक्विड में कन्वर्ट होता है, वापस से जब कलेक्ट किया जाता है, वापस से हेड, हार्ट एंड टेल, ये 3 पार्ट्स में कलेक्ट किया जाता है। तो जब दूसरे बार ये हेड, हार्ट और टेल जब कलेक्ट किया जाता है, तो उसमें से जो हार्ट होता है उसको डाला जाता है रीडिस्टिलेशन के लिए, रीडिस्टिलेशन के लिए डाला जाता है, और उसके बाद फिर से जब ये पूरा प्रोसेस होता है जिसमें हेड, हार्ट, टेल वापस से मिलता है, उसमें से जो हार्ट है वो आपका प्योरेस्ट फॉर्म अल्कोहल होता है। ठीक है, सो द प्योरेस्ट फॉर्म अल्कोहल दैट इज अचीव्ड आफ्टर सो मेनी टाइम्स द डिस्टिलेशन दैट हैज हैपेंड, देन यू गेट योर प्योरेस्ट फॉर्म ऑफ अल्कोहल, एंड दिस अल्कोहल which you get, this process which is used is generally been used for making various spirits like whiskey, brandy, tequila, gin. Okay, now this is a very traditional type of process which was been used in olden times, and it used to take a very